Tonight on CTV News, we have full coverage of the events that erupted on campus Friday night and a look into a leadership series that's tailored for empowering women.
Then later we find out how a local church is providing a unique space for the homeless as well as an analysis of Rams women's basketball. Lockers for people experiencing homelessness will come before the Fort Collins City Council tonight following the outcry from advocates. Reporter Kiara Coles will be there later in the show. Good evening, Rams. I'm Iannacone.
And I'm Sydney Paul. But first, let's discuss the protests that erupted on campus Friday night. On Friday, a difference in perspective turned into a night that ended with police intervention. CTV reporter Kiara Coles has the story.
What started out as a peaceful protest against Turning Point USA founder and executive director Charlie Kirk.
I'm here with Democratic Socialists, and we're just here trying to show the other side, kind of save face in a way, because they're trying to use propaganda against us.
Soon turned into a riot. Kirk's presence on CSU's campus and his presentation titled Smashing Socialism created an upset in Fort Collins community amongst those who did not align with his values and beliefs.
It seemed like this was another example of the hate that's brewing in the country, and it's real important for us to take every opportunity we can to come out and support against hate.
However, upon the conclusion of Kirk's presentation, a group of people wielding riot shields and wearing skull-emblazoned face masks stormed into a crowd of remaining protesters while chanting Nazi slogans. Witnesses believe these people were members of the Traditional Worker Party, a neo-Nazi white nationalist group based here in the United States. However, police could not confirm this and no arrests have been made. CSU's President Tony Franks sent out an email following the event thanking law enforcement for quickly handling the situation and preventing injuries amongst protesters.
Immediately disperse, which means to break up this assembly. If you do not do so, you may be arrested or subject to other police action.
No one was harmed in the aftermath following Kirk's presentation. However, unrelated to the clash, a CSU police officer was injured in a one-vehicle ATV crash away from the initial protest site as protesters began to move off campus. He was transported to the hospital with non-life-threatening injuries.
CSU graduate student Annalise Mowen is revolutionizing the world of solar cell energy. Her in-depth studies have proven that utilizing solar cell materials are more efficient when it comes to converting sunlight into energy than the standard method used today. Mowen has recently published a journal of her research alongside CSU chemistry professor James Nielsen. The article has been chosen as editor's choice in a chemistry of materials, a peer-reviewed scientific journal. To read Mowen's journal and check out her research, please visit thecollegian.com.
Faculty and staff members came together last week to discuss the importance of having women in leadership positions university-wide. I attended the Women's Leadership Series and have more for you now. The Women and Gender Collaborative put on the first event in their three-part Women's Leadership Series. A panel of 5 CSU employees came together to discuss their time at the HERS Institute and issues of diversity and inclusion on campus.
The university invests in developing women leaders, and they do that. One of the ways that they do that is through the HERS Institute, which is an executive leadership I guess I would call it camp.
Each year, CSU sends 2 women to undergo intensive leadership training at the HERS Institute. The panelists shared what they learned during their time there and how it affects their leadership styles every day. The leadership series is open to faculty members to attend and hone their own leadership skills.
It's geared towards faculty and staff, but the idea is to bring some pretty broad level knowledge and make it accessible to women across campus to help in their own leadership development to advance their skills development and careers.
The Women and Gender Collaborative hopes that the series will help bring about a culture shift in relation to leadership.
I also think it challenges the way that we've been socialized to think about leadership. So what does a leader look like? Who is a leader? Is it a white man over 6 feet tall named John? Right? Because statistically, there are more men named John who are CEOs than women. Is that the only way that we see leadership?
As a result of this series, the collaborative hopes that students and faculty alike will broaden their views on leadership moving forward.
Is leadership always in a three-piece suit? Is leadership always very commanding? Whose voice do we see as a leader? All of that, I think, matters. So that's why I think students should care.
The next section of the leadership series will take place in early March.
Fort Collins City Council is currently voting on whether or not to fund a local church program that will give people affected by homelessness public lockers to use.
We have reporter Kiara Coles live at City Hall now. Kiara, what's the atmosphere of City Hall currently?
Yes, Sydney. Now, this has actually been a big issue within the Fort Collins community of whether or not City Council wants to provide the funding to the Fort Collins Mennonite Fellowship Church regarding implementing their locker program. Tonight, the council is meeting to decide how to move forward.
Homelessness in Fort Collins affects approximately 18.3% of residents.
Right now, I happen to be in a shed. I'm able to sleep in a shed right now.
And Fort Collins Mennonite Fellowship Church wants to do their part to help alleviate the burden through the implementation of a locker program.
These would be lockers for people who are currently experiencing homelessness.
Steve Raymer, head pastor of the church, intends to build lockers that will be located at the back of the property in hopes of helping those experiencing homelessness keep their possessions safe.
I don't know how many times, like on Friday nights or Sunday mornings, people are asking me, oh, do you have any backpacks? Because mine was stolen.
And is asking the city for a $10,500 grant to fund the 20 locker pilot program. Those granted a locker would have access to it 24/7 for a 3-month period, creating constant turnover and opportunities for new people to access the lockers on a regular basis.
Potentially, you could say, in a year's time, 20 lockers every, 4 times a year, you have turnover. That's 100 people could potentially benefit.
Raymer insists the project is not only valuable, but critical.
All the things that you need to get a license, that you need to get a job, a lot of these things people are losing. Plus, they're losing those things that they're pictures of their children.
And funds will be provided to an employee to oversee the program, as well as decide who will receive a locker.
I was going to be writing up some interview questions, asking them if they need a locker, how it would help them.
However, the project has stirred a concern for safety within the Fort Collins community.
Concerns that were raised by the community were basically that, in part, the security that the church had suggested, a 24-hour security camera, for example, was not enough to really mitigate their concerns.
A concern Raymer is well aware of.
Those kind of behaviors, if they're reported to us or captured on the camera, that would mean immediate, termination of our agreement.
The 2x2 lockers will be put into place along this wall, allowing for those experiencing homelessness the opportunity to store their possessions. City Council is meeting tonight to discuss this proposal and decide whether or not to provide the fundings to keep the project moving forward.
Council would provide direction at this meeting about next steps in the event that they decided not to fund it or if they decide to fund it.
But regardless of city funding or not, Raymer aims to keep the project moving forward, a move he attributes to a higher calling.
The reason I'm doing this is that it's pretty clear that Jesus calls us to serve the poor and to care for the homeless.
And one that will hopefully benefit the homeless population.
No, that would be great, because I would use that locker too, store some stuff in it just for, just in case. You never know when you have to leave the area that you're at. Anyway, because things go on in life, so.
Again, the final decision regarding the funding is being made tonight, and City Council will provide further instruction to the church in the coming weeks. Be sure to check thecollegian.com for more updates. From City Hall, Kiara Coles, CTV Channel 11.
Thank you, Kiara. For the entire month of February, the Black and African American Cultural Center at CSU will be hosting a series of events in honor of Black History Month. Some events include Black Is, Black Ain't, Black Women's Summit, and the Rams for Social Justice. This year will be the first that the back office is hosting a series of sessions called Being Black And, which will explore how identities in addition to being Black influence the way Black individuals show up. There will be a total of 3 sessions in the series, starting with Black and Undocumented, which will premiere on February 15th in room 322 of the Laurie Student Center.
A rocket launch earlier today has significant implications for the future of space travel. The SpaceX Falcon Heavy rocket successfully lifted off from the Kennedy Space Center in Florida at 3:45 p.m. It is now the most powerful rocket flying currently and one step closer to landing humans on Mars. SpaceX is responsible for this first launch with the goal to make space travel more affordable with reusable rocket parts. Here's why today's launch was so monumental. The Falcon Heavy is capable of putting objects 3 times heavier into orbit than space shuttles could have, which is more than any other rocket flying today, and the cost of the launch was about 40% cheaper than its competitors. This successful launch proves to clients around the world the capabilities of the Heavy and will increase the amount of launches SpaceX can conduct in the future.
So Sydney, does this mean that we can have classes on Mars soon?
Yeah, this program could definitely make that possible in our lifetime.
Oh wow, that's awesome.
Thank you for joining us tonight, Rams. Be safe and don't forget to tune in to Humans of CSU tomorrow night at 7 p.m.
And don't go anywhere just yet because Edgar Cedilo is up next to let you know if snow is in the forecast for this weekend.
They said I couldn't dream. Called me a piece of trash and swore that's all I'd ever be. Said a bottle couldn't see the ocean. Give up. Go back to the dumpster. But I didn't listen. I made my way. And now, I am what I've always wanted to be.
Welcome back from break, Rams. Hope you all had a good rest of your weekend and a good start to your school week. Let's take a look at current conditions right now. 25 degrees out in Fort Collins, mostly clear. We have winds out west at 5 miles an hour. Your sunset was at 5:07 p.m. Looking at highs for today, 26 in Fort Collins, 25 out in Sterling, low of 13 out in Lyman. As you head down south, 30 in Colorado Springs, a chilly 23 in Pueblo, 21 in Lamar. Looking out west, 22 in Vail, 29 in Gunnison, and 22 out in Telluride. Looking at tomorrow's forecast, we have 48 in Fort Collins as a high, 26 as your morning low. Your sunset will be at 5:24 and sunrise around 7:04 a.m. Looking at your hourly planner, if you're going to an 8 a.m. around that 8 a.m., it should be pretty chilly, around 24 degrees. Looking at 38 for your lunchtime. If you're getting out of class around 2 o'clock, looking at 44. If you're going home after that 3 or 4 o'clock, 39 degrees, it will be starting to get dark. And a pretty cold 27 degrees if you're heading home from the library from studying. Looking at state highs for tomorrow, we got 48 in Fort Collins, matching that in Denver at 48, 49 down in Colorado Springs. Warm spot of the state looks to be in Pueblo, 50 out west in Grand Junction, 43 in Craig, 44 in Vail, 39 down in Gunnison. Looking out east, we have a 48 in Sterling as well and a 50 in Lyman. Looking at your 5-day forecast, we have a 48 tomorrow, warming up Thursday at 56, low at 27. Friday looks to be partly cloudy, snow showers late at night. 45 will be your high and a low of 16. Saturday will be colder with snow. Look for 2 to 4 inches of snow that day. 6 degrees is the low, and then we're warming back up on Sunday with a high of 35 and a low of 20. That's all for weather today. Turning with Terah, she has a sports recap for the week.
Look at you. You're at the top of your game. You're unstoppable. Nothing can throw you off track. Wait, is that your car? Uh-oh. Yeah, I saw that coming. That will throw you off track. you're looking at around 10 grand in fines, legal fees, and increased insurance rates. Let's try this again. Smart move. Because buzz driving is drunk driving.
Listen, I realize that I'm not perfect, but it all really started to change because you judge me for having a problem. No one is going to know that I need help. I need help. I know that no one is going to judge me for having a problem. I realize that I'm not perfect, but it all really started to change because you listen.
Welcome back from the break. I'm Terah Barrio here to catch you up on all the latest sports news from the weekend. This weekend, the women's basketball team traveled to Nevada and took on the Nevada Wolfpack. It was a well-fought battle between both teams, battling hard throughout the whole game, tying up the game numerous times, but in the end, the Rams stayed on top and picking up another victory, winning 65-59. Laura Devos, Hannah Traverti, and Annie Brady were a triple threat this weekend. All three athletes finished scoring in double digits. Devos led her team in scoring 15 points, shooting 7 for 10, with 3 rebounds and 2 assists. Traverti following right behind Devos with 14 points, 9 rebounds, and 5, and right there with Devos and Traverti, Annie Brady scored 12 points and shot 6 for 8. The women's basketball returns tomorrow, taking on the Air Force Falcons at 7 p.m. If you tuned in last week, you heard my interview with Phelan Castellano talk about their upcoming season. The CSU Club baseball team traveled down to Lamar, Colorado, and took on Lamar Junior College. Unfortunately for the Rams, the baseball team lost 2-5. Luke Damali finished his first game on the season batting with an average of .500. The CSU Club baseball team travels to this Saturday down to Parker, Colorado, where they will play a doubleheader against Metro State University. Tune in next week for a full update. What a career alumni Haley Hutton had for the CSU women's softball team. Hutton was selected for the Outstanding Achievement Award in softball from the Sportswoman of Colorado. Hutton finished her career with her Rams in her final season of Rams softball, batting with an average of .357 and led her team with a 51 runs scored and 60 hits. Haley Hutton hurt her way into history with becoming ranked second in history, finishing with a batting average of .384 and finishing with 251 hits. The star softball player also holds the record for the most scored with 190 and 118 walks. Congratulations, alumni Haley Hutton, on an unbelievable hitting career here at CSU softball. Softball season will officially begin this Friday at 10 a.m. in Wisconsin, where they will be taking on the Longhorns. Tune in next week for more news about upcoming season of spring sports, but don't go just yet. Next up, we have Lauren Willson giving you all you need to know about entertainment.
So, same time next week?
Well, of course. Put away a few bucks, feel like $1 million. For free tips to help you save, go to Feed the Pig.
They told me a bottle couldn't dream. That I would never become a superhero. But I learned how to fly. Just to come back in a new disguise. And be the hero that I've always wanted to be.
Good evening, Rams. I'm Lauren Willson, and here are tonight's top entertainment stories. The 52nd Super Bowl took place last Sunday. The Philadelphia Eagles defeated the New England Patriots in what I assume was an interesting game. But let's be honest, the most entertaining parts were the commercials and the halftime show. Let's tackle both right now. I don't even want to talk about ads other than those for Tide laundry detergent. The commercials made a compelling and hilarious argument. All Super Bowl ads are in fact ads for Tide. If you don't believe me, just look at the cleanliness of everyone's clothes in the commercials. These ingenious Tide ads would appear at first to be selling things like beer, deodorant, or tech devices. Then, David Harbour of Stranger Things would appear to inform the viewer that, in fact, it was a promotion for Tide. Funny stuff, but a close runner-up for Best Ad is a plug for Mountain Dew Ice and Doritos Blaze. The clip features Peter Dinklage from Game of Thrones and Morgan Freeman from, well, every good movie ever made. I won't give too much away, but I will say that an epic rap battle is involved. That ad also made me crave Mountain Dew pretty badly. Now, let's talk about that halftime show. Justin Timberlake headlined the performance, pairing awesome choreography with some of his greatest hits, like Sexy Back and Can't Stop the Feeling. One of the highlights of the spectacle was when Timberlake sang a song by the late Prince. Some fans were upset by the tribute. For one, Prince was against the idea of video and hologram tributes to dead artists. Second, Timberlake and Prince supposedly had beef going all the way back to 2007. But for those like me who knew absolutely nothing about the history of the artists, it seemed like JT was happy to pay tribute to the Prince of Funk. Do you enjoy both American history and local theater? If you're a Netflix binging millennial, probably not. But hey, if you want to experience a bit of high culture, be sure to check out Waiting for the Parade.
A story both entertaining and authentic is hard to come by, but that is exactly what is being offered at Babalu Playhouse. The Fort Collins Theater is now showing Waiting for the Parade, a drama set in Canada during World War II. It tells the stories of 5 unique women whose loved ones are involved in the conflict. Some of the women keep morale up by working on the home front. Others deal with relationships and issues right at their front door. Although the play takes place in 1945, it deals with topics and issues that are still relevant today. The production manager, Jana Gurvich, believes the story of these women fits right into the current climate of our country.
One of them is a German immigrant who had been in the country since she was 9, and the interaction between the women and their stories and how they cope and how she's treated by some of them and by her society is just felt so topical right now. I thought it was just a really beautiful story and really kind of timely, or timeless perhaps, as long as we are the way we are.
Even those who weren't involved in the show's production can appreciate its importance and realism. One attendee of the play shares his opinion.
I think this is one such opportunity to see authentic theater, to hear an authentic story told in an authentic way, and I think that that's important.
Waiting for the Parade is Babalu's 4th production of the season. The Playhouse was founded in 1992, and today it continues striving to give a voice to powerful, thought-provoking work.
Waiting for the Parade is showing until March 4th at Babalu Theater on Pine Street. Don't miss out on the opportunity to see this amusing and heartwarming drama. Dinner and a movie can be fun, but if date nights are getting dull, it might be time to consider something new. The perfect cure for evening boredom can be found at The Dinner Detective, an interactive murder mystery dinner show right here in Fort Collins. As a guest at The Dinner Detective, you will be a part of a crime-solving drama while eating a delicious meal. The dialogue is realistic and the actors are dressed in regular clothing, so you can't tell who's an audience member and who is a killer. Will you be able to solve the thriller? Check out The Dinner Detective on Prospect Road when you're craving some old-fashioned mystery theater. But be sure to book your tickets ahead of time because shows sell out fast. Well, that's all I have for you tonight. Be sure to tune in tomorrow for our variety show, Humans of CSU. Good night, Fort Collins.